Hi, I'm Old Norse Specialist Dr. Jackson Crawford. In this video, my Patreon and Ko-Fi supported channel about Norse language, myth, and runes, I'm going to look at some of Odin's many other names. Now, I don't think it would be possible to compile a complete list of Odin's names, but probably the closest thing to it is one that he himself provides at the end of the poem Grímnismál in the Poetic Edda. It's Grímnismál in modern Icelandic, of course. And even there, when he says, I am named Grímur and Gangleri, and he starts off just listing, I think, about 80 names, he doesn't list quite all of them. So check out a video that I made as part of my complete reading of Grímnismál in Old Norse for that scene and all of those names with comments on each one. In this video, I want to focus on just a few that come up often or that have something particularly interesting about them. So Ygr is one particular name that comes up pretty often for Óðinn. This is from an Indo-European root, something like Heg, which builds words for like evil more generally in Greek and Sanskrit, but is associated with fear in Germanic languages. So a cognate in Gothic from the same root, for example, is ogyan, to frighten, and English awe, like AWE, like hold someone in awe, be awed by someone, is from this root too. So Ygr is apparently fairly clearly the frightener, and of course one place this name comes up is in the name of the great mythical tree Yggdrasil, or in fact, as students in my Old Norse course, soon to begin a summer semester, have noticed in reading the original text, this tree is typically called Yggdrasils asker, so the tree, the ash tree of Ygr, not possessive Yggs, but Ygr, horse. Drasil means horse, so there's a lot of ideas about why exactly the name of the tree is this, or who Yggdrasil is. It may be Odin and his horse regarded as one being, as Anatole Lieberman memorably suggested. Another name that comes up very, very often in prose too is Hóvi, the High One. One of the interesting things about this name, which of course Odin often uses in Hávamál, the poem named, the High One speech, Hóvi's speech, Mál, is the small chance that I think is really, really interesting that this is actually not from the adjective high, but from what would be a homophonous adjective in Old Norse that meant one-eyed. That would be the cognate of Gothic hax. Now, Gothic hax, one-eyed, is not exactly the same type of adjective, but that doesn't have to matter. Gothic and Old Norse don't always agree on the endings that these things take, even if they have cognate roots. And, of course, most dangerously, this adjective isn't attested in Old Norse other than in this name if it is there. But if it does potentially mean the one-eyed one, rather than, or even, I think this would be especially Odinic, in addition to the High One, then that's an excellent name for him, of course. And because I've always liked this idea, I believe that the subtitle that I gave Hávamál in my original translation of the Poetic Edda from about 10 years ago is the words of the one-eyed, just to kind of stand out from what other people had called it. I'm going to give you a quick word from my friends and partners at Grimfrost, then I'll come back and tell you a little bit more about other interesting names of Óðinn, particularly Helblindi. Now, Óðinn has many, many other names. You notice that, of course, there's Grímur and Grímnir. These are related to a word for mask or for just generally hiding the face. And I think that the the general sense there is it's of someone whose face is hidden more than masked. Hence, in my original translation of the Poetic Edda, I believe that I gave the translation of Grímnir when Odin gives that as his name in Grímnismál as hidden face, shadowed face. Shadowed face, I think is what I said. But I think one of the most interesting names of Odin is Helblindi. Now, he claims this name in that long list of his names toward the end of Grímnismál. But what's interesting is that in the prose Edda, Snorri Sturluson, who of course so often quotes poems from the Poetic Edda, quotes those stanzas, so he quotes all these names of Odin, knows that that's the name of Odin, but then two different times in the prose Edda, once in Gylfaginning and once in Skaldskaparmál, when Snorri is listing Loki's family members, he names Helblindi as one of Loki's brothers. Now, this name must mean hell blind, right? Blinded by hell, blinded by death, something like that. Fascinating name. There have been proposals over the years that it could mean half-blind and thus be a reference to Odin's one-eyedness. Half-blind would be a sort of poetic or euphemistic way of saying that, maybe. But I just don't think that that's possible. I made a long video on the question of who exactly Loki's brothers and Odin's brothers are a few years ago. Not long video, full-length video. I don't want to discourage you from watching it. But I dealt with this question at some length. But in short, there's really no way to get that vowel E in the first syllable if this is from the word for half, Holver, because there's nothing to I-mutate that A to an E. But if it's hell, death, or the underworld, then there is a J in that root that would cause that mutation. So potentially this is given as the name of one of Loki's brothers, he's either because of a tradition that they are blood brothers, as Lokasenna says, or perhaps there's even a tradition somewhere back there that isn't preserved in any of the poems in the Poetic Edda or in Snorri's prose, that Loki and Odin were in fact more literally brothers, which is a pretty fascinating idea. Now, another series of names of Odin that are pretty interesting are the ones that end in Fodr. So Allfodr, all, whatever exactly Fodr is, and I'll get back to this in a second. Valfodr, slaughtered Fodr, Aldafodr, men's Fodr. Typically, this has been given as an alternate form of the word father, but I have a hard time understanding how exactly such an alternate form would emerge, and I have proposed, again, I have another full-length video just on this question, that this is actually related to an Old English root. Right, this is the Old Norse cognate of an Old English word. Right? I'm not saying it's borrowed from Old English. I'm saying that this is the Old Norse reflex of the same root word. That means orderer, arranger. So then he's the arranger of the fallen, Valfodr. He's the arranger of everything, Allfodr. He's the arranger of human beings, Aldafodr, which I think actually makes more sense with his role in the mythology. And and notice he's not the father of everything, right? He's not the original living thing, and not all the gods, nor are human beings descended from him in their entirety. If anything, the father of human beings would be Heimdallr, according to Paul Reek's theory. Well, I hope that's been a little bit interesting or informative for you, and I hope you'll check out some of those other videos if you're interested in following a little bit more about these topics. And from beautiful Colorado, I'm wishing you all the best, and thanks for your support.